Hello, and welcome to Learn Family University's course, Student Wellbeing and Successful Online Learning. I'll be your presenter today. I'm Pamela Santerre, the coordinator of online learning for Learn. My contact information is on the screen. If I can help support you or your young people in any way, please give me a call or an email. As always, we'd like to start this course with a disclaimer. You will learn about principles of well-being that you can use to support the development of your child's social and emotional skills, including the ability to navigate social interactions and build friendships. These are concepts that parents, students, and teachers have found useful on this journey to ensure that learning happens away from the place called school. Having said that, you know your child best. It's not worth a dramatic battle to implement all of these recommendations. We care that your child wants to learn and knows how to learn way more than we care if your child complies with all of the general ideas collected from others. This is Module 7, Teasing and Bullying. Teasing, as defined by teens. According to Gus, age 16, in any good friendship, there will be definitely a lot of teasing. And each friend knows which lines they can't cross. If you start to notice lines being crossed over and over, chances are they're not a good friend. Radhika says, I do feel that lines are sometimes blurred and that even close friends don't really recognize them, simply because we're good at hiding when jokes hurt us, for the most part at least. Teasing is and always has been complicated. It's one of those evergreen issues that adults and young people can both relate to. But now, when so many of our friendships will be maintained online, and we will have fewer opportunities to figure out misunderstandings in person, understanding the definition of teasing is critical to your child's ability to navigate the inevitable confusing moments in friendships. It's important to define teasing. Experts define teasing into 3 categories: good teasing, annoying teasing, and hurtful teasing. With good teasing, the teasing feels like a part of the friendship. The teasing makes you feel closer to that other person. You don't feel the teaser wants to put you down. And if you decide you don't like it, you feel you can say something and the teasing will stop. For annoying teasing, you feel that the teaser should know that you don't like it, but they don't or won't admit it. You feel too weak or too sensitive to bring it up, so you don't say anything. And even if you say you don't like it, the other person doesn't take you seriously. With hurtful teasing, you feel like the teasing is being done on purpose to make you feel bad. If you say you don't like it, the teasing gets worse. And the teasing is often in public, either in person or online, and it can feel relentless. It can be really helpful for parents to share their experiences with a child. So if you were teased when you were a child, tell them. You can even tell them what you were teased about, but you don't have to tell them everything. However, avoid telling a young person that you know exactly what they're going through. You don't know what it's like to be teased on social media where everyone can see what you're being teased about. So you can say, when I was your age, I had similar experiences, but you're growing up in a different time than me. It's really important that I listen to what things are like for you, so I don't make any assumptions. And if I do give you advice, it's based on your experiences and not mine. Teasing can be the glue in a friendship. It can also make a person feel resentful and unsafe in a friendship. As the adult, it's important to talk to your young person without making assumptions. We may see or hear teasing from one child to another that we find upsetting, and yet it's part of the natural rhythm of your child's relationship, and something they use to build connection. Ask your child about it before offering your point of view. However, if you hear children using identifiers like race or sexual orientation as the root of their joke, step in. Having children understand when their teasing is rooted in dehumanization is important. As we said previously, it's important to try and work through problems in friendships, but we don't want young people sacrificing their personal boundaries and feelings of dignity so they can keep a friendship. It's only logical that these dynamics, keeping up the friendship even though you don't like how you or others are being treated in that friendship, will be a significant challenge right now. Obviously, teasing doesn't just happen between friends. Annoying or harmful teasing can happen between peers, like during an online class, an online breakout room, or an in-person class. When young people are dealing with or even anticipating negative social interactions like this, the incentive to miss that online class will probably go up. Remember, as a parent, there's always an understandable reason for a young person's actions. You just need to know what it is. If your child starts missing their online classes, it could be because someone is making them feel like they don't want to be there. Here are some things that you can do to take action. If your child comes to you and says some sort of variation of, "These people are teasing, messing with, or bothering me," pay attention. We suggest responding with, "I'm so sorry. Can you tell me a few specifics or describe what's happening that you don't like? I don't want to make any assumptions." You and your child can figure out what category the teasing is in. In other words, is it good, annoying, or harmful teasing? And then strategize appropriately. The bottom line is, no matter how small or how long it's been going on, no one gets to dismiss their feelings or how they perceive their own experience. Here's some advice from a teen. This is Jake, 16. He says, "Parents and children could make an agreement to treat each other with dignity in the future, possibly outlining sensitive topics that both sides wouldn't want to be teased about. It relates to the golden rule in a way where the family trusts each other to be civil and to know when to stop." To recap teasing is an important part of friendships. To better understand the impact of the behavior on the person, teasing can be identified into 3 categories: good, annoying, or harmful. How teasing is defined is always up to the person receiving the teasing. No one gets to tell the other person that they're overly sensitive or that they took it the wrong way. Now let's talk about bullying. Bullying is a form of aggression with 3 characteristics. 1, it's intentional. 2, it involves a power imbalance between an aggressor, the individual or the group, and a victim that is based on physical differences, social differences, or other differences that can make it difficult for the victim to defend themselves. And 3, it's repetitive in nature and occurs over time. It can occur face-to-face, through written communication, and online. Bullying is a matter of public health, and it negatively affects the physical and mental health of both the targets and perpetrators. In a school, although the target most directly experiences its impact, they aren't the only ones who feel the effect. Friends and other peer bystanders feel its consequences, as do the parents and educators who aren't able to stop it. To say it another way, bullying weakens the foundations of our villages. The hard truth is, for many years, schools have addressed bullying with various anti-bullying programs. Unfortunately, we have sometimes missed the mark in our efforts to address it because we have tended to concentrate our efforts on assemblies or campaigns that don't land with students, and honestly, often the teachers as well, because they are unrealistic or feel superficial. We also tend to rely on large group messaging around the importance of kindness, which does not offer young people a complex framework for understanding human behavior. Kindness campaigns, while well-intentioned, can be easily weaponized by young, concrete thinkers to use the idea of kindness as a tool for social aggression and exclusion by categorizing one act by a child as mean and thus taking that as permission to dismiss the whole person or retaliate by being mean back. Anti-bullying programs do not engage in substantive pro-social critical thinking. They tend to offer vocabulary that does not separate aggressive acts, which require attention, redirection, and consequence, from the worth of the individual who committed the act. As a parent, it's essential to acknowledge with young people these dual realities. First, bullying is an important issue. Second, the way it's taught can lack credibility among young people. And third, there is often a belief among students that in spite of these campaigns, assemblies, and posters, the bullies, including the adults, are not held accountable. It's as if teaching these values without teaching the skills will stop the behavior. However, if you teach both, then they are more likely to come to you if they experience bullying. According to the Cyberbullying Research Center, while we are still gathering information about teens' use of social media and the possible increase of bullying during COVID-19, there are indicators that there is and will be an increase in social aggression. Samir Hinduja, the co-director of the center, explains, "In the midst of major crises, where everyone is already on the edge, hostility towards others tends to escalate along with self-preserving and self-defensive behaviors. Many cyberbullying targets will hesitate to get help from their parents. When it happens, they may suffer silently since will not be any visual cues for educators to see or investigate because the student is not physically at school. In addition, with everyone now receiving instruction online, students cannot readily stop by the guidance counselor's office, chat with a teacher after class, or let their coach know what's troubling them and affecting their ability to play sports, since youth sports are also shut down. Those opportunities for meaningful, connected conversations and check-ins largely will not happen organically. Understanding how bullying happens in school is only possible if we recognize that the people who probably know the most about it are students. This was the case before COVID-19, and it's certainly the case now. One of the first ways that you can help a young person to find different levels of social aggression that can get lumped together under the category of bullying. It can also help them to find what they may be observing and experiencing, which is also a way of getting emotionally granular. If they are experiencing bullying, they are better prepared to describe their experience to the appropriate adults at school. Remind young people that we are not born knowing how to act in ways that honor everyone's dignity. We have to practice. Part of that practice is identifying the behavior of others that violates our worth or the worth of others. Young people have as much responsibility to address behavior that negatively affects them as they do behavior that negatively affects others. Show these definitions on the screen to the young person in your life and ask their opinion, and even modify what we have here. Your goal is to have a common language with your young person so that they can better define their experiences and articulate them. Then ask them if they know how any of this has changed since distance learning began, and how they think it could impact their or other students' abilities to learn. For example, you may have language like conflict, drama, rude, mean, or bullying. Taking action. Don't wait until there's a problem. Your child will be online all the time for the foreseeable future. With your children's input, you can create online guidelines that set behavior expectations for your child around mean behavior and bullying. Here are a few tips for getting started, with suggestions from Devorah Heitner, PhD, who is the author of Screenwise, Helping Kids Thrive and Survive in the Digital World. She suggests you start by defining. Create clear definitions for all of your family's online platforms about mean, rude, and bullying behavior. Then create, based on those definitions, make clear guidelines about how people in the family should conduct themselves online. Determine specific consequences if someone in the family goes against these expectations. Then create a criteria or list of things your child or children could experience online. If any of these things happen, make a plan that your child agrees to tell you. Document if your child receives content online that upsets them by asking them to screenshot or make screen recordings as a record of abusive content. Take a record, write down your child's every single website, user login, and password. Take a picture on your phone for safekeeping. And finally, keep time. Is there a time of day that's proving hard? As in, is your child in a worse mood after a particular class? It may be because of how they're being treated in that class. If so, communicate with the teacher about what you're observing. One of the trickiest situations for a parent is when their child tells them that someone has been mean or has bullied them. Just like your child needs skills to manage their anger, you also need the same skills. Yes, it's tempting to rush in to protect them, but these moments are priceless opportunities to demonstrate emotional regulation and social skills with and to your children. Overall, you want to be behind the scenes, coaching your child as they navigate these challenging moments. While you are always there for support and guidance, show them that you have confidence in their abilities. It's also an essential opportunity to model how to use dignity as the foundation of all relationships. Let's imagine that your child shares a problem with you, especially a conflict that they're having with another person. Here are some recommended and not recommended ways to respond. Your go-to response is probably going to be a combination of, "I'm so sorry. Thank you for trusting me enough to tell me. And I'm going to help you think this through so that you can come up with a plan to feel a little more in control." You don't have to say these things in the exact order. Also, remember that your child will probably start with generalities and only part of the story to see if you're going to freak out. So here are a few common things that we suggest not saying. First, they're jealous of you, they're insecure. This response is ineffective because there's nothing the child can do with this information. Even if it's true, there's no action plan. And you never want your child telling other children what you told them, because it could easily motivate the other child to retaliate. Second, be nice. Accommodating people who are mean to you doesn't look like you're being nice. It looks like you're vulnerable and easily manipulated. Third, she probably comes from a bad home. You should feel sorry for her. While it can be helpful to understand other people's backgrounds as a way to build sympathy for another person, that doesn't give them an excuse to lash out at people. Fourth, saying something like, "Are you sure? Maybe you took it the wrong way?" Without meaning to, saying this can come across as if you don't believe them or you think your child is overly sensitive or overreacting. Fifth, saying something like, "Use your words." How? What words? What happens if the other person doesn't listen? This puts ownership for the violation on the young person not the perpetrator. And lastly, just ignore it. Walk away. By the time your child comes to you for advice, they have probably been trying to ignore it or walk away from the problem, but it hasn't worked. That's why they're coming to you. This also sends the message that they have to accept violations to their sense of safety, which is not a pattern we want to create in our young people. What if your child says, I'm going to tell you, but you have to promise not to do anything? This is an incredibly confusing moment for parents. You want to tell them you want them to tell you what's wrong, and it's understandable to feel if you don't make this promise, they'll shut you out. However, you don't want to make a promise that you have to break because you need another adult's advice or involvement. Instead, this is what we suggest you say. I wish I could make that promise, but I can't. But I can promise that if you tell me something where we need to talk to another adult, we can decide together who is the best person to talk to, and we will do it in a way that makes you feel safer, and that we are working together to make the problem better. If you include your young person as part of this process, they can tolerate your decisions, even if they disagree. What you don't want to do is take action without your child's knowledge. This is, after all, their conflict, and they are the ones who have to deal with the fallout. One thing we know is young people don't tend to confide in adults who they think will patronize them or overreact, no matter how good their intentions are. Lastly, be careful about saying, why did you wait so long to tell me? Even if you have no intention of coming across as accusatory, you probably will. This will make your child feel shame and create a pattern where self-advocacy doesn't feel safe, which will make them less likely to advocate for themselves in the future. If you really want the answer to that, say something a few hours later like, whenever it feels right for you, I would really like to know why you didn't want to come to me sooner. To recap, bullying is a form of aggression with the following 3 characteristics. 1, it's intentional. 2, it involves a power imbalance between an aggressor and an individual or group aggressor and a victim or victims. And 3, it's usually repetitive in nature and occurs over time. And lastly, any advice or information we give about bullying must be given in the context of the child's experience. Thank you for joining me in Module 7. I hope that you'll join me in Module 8, which is Communication with Other Parents, now available. Want to dive deeper? Register for our self-paced course. You can find the link on the screen. Again, thank you for joining me in Module 7.